For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Why are we experiencing a lot of powerful figures being implicated in sexual and power abuse?
Yeah, you know, I think it's probably been happening for a long time. But it's getting exposed now, this Me Too movement in America, with the exposure of Harvey Weinstein, made an international thing. Also, in South Africa, you've had this very significant court judgment regarding Sydney Press, I think his name is, who was alleged to have abused young boys and young girls like 20 years ago, and he died before judgment. But the court made a decision that there is not, what is the word they use when something expires? There's a word that they use in law. It doesn't expire after 20 years. You can bring it at any time. And I think what happens with a lot of these cases, not the ones in the US, is that people have therapy and then they remember something that they didn't remember when they're younger. Or through the therapy, they actually believe that the way of recovering themselves is to speak about this. But it's now become a sort of a deluge, with a lot of people being emboldened by what has happened elsewhere. And it doesn't mean that these things suddenly happened. It means that people have always had an unsympathetic environment where when you claim rape, the media used to be unsympathetic. The police are still very often unsympathetic. You often are upbraided because you washed yourself or you didn't wait till this, that and the other, and you often have to make the report in front of a lot of other people in the front of the police station. Now they're trying to have efforts when someone brings a rape claim to have them see a police woman, man who's sympathetic, who's trained in this. But it's still going to be difficult because when you go into a police station, there's usually about 20 people there. And you have to queue up, and then they say, well, what do you hear about? What do you hear about?
And everyone is listening.
Yes, so it's not easy. And then when you get into court, the tendency is to try to put the complainant on trial, as happened in the Zuma rape trial. And so I think what's happened is people have become emboldened, but also many of the public are now willing to say, I believe Jennifer Ferguson. And what the reasoning is, you can say I believe, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to go to court. And your truth, your understanding of the truth does not have to conform to legal technicalities. So a lot of people have been prepared to say on social media and other ways, I believe you, of various people. I think that's the atmosphere. It's not necessarily that there is any more than before. My guess is that it's a big problem in any situation where there's a power relationship, where you want to get your degree very badly, the person who's supervising you or marking your things is in a position to even command what appears to be consensual sex because of the inequality of the relationship. It's not necessarily direct rape, but the way consent is given is a product of an unequal relationship. And I think we've got to understand that there are various grades of exercise of power over women and also over men. I mean, a lot of these things can be done by women in authority, in the sense that you may be the CEO and you may be quite old, but you may fancy some young man, and you may be able to compel that young man to have sex with you. So it can happen the other way around, although it's very rarely. But patriarchal roles can be performed by women. And I remember in an organization where I was, that a woman was at one stage going to face disciplinary action over sexual harassment of a man. So it does happen.
Talking about Jennifer Ferguson, we know that the past weekend as well, another woman came out, went to lay charges against the soccer boss, Danny Jordan, and he is still in his position. What does this say?
Well, you know, different organizations relate differently on that, and different people relate differently, because if you are charged with a very serious charge and you hold a public office, the tradition in a place like Britain is that you step aside. Either you take voluntary leave, or you resign without an admission of guilt, or some such thing to protect the organization, or the organization does demand that of you. But in the case of SAFA, it appears that Jordan has tried to tie all of this with contestations around his presidency. I think he is unopposed, but he accused Ivan Koza of being behind paying for Jennifer Ferguson's tickets and all sorts of things like this. And it's been proved that it's not true. So it's, first of all, the Soccer Federation probably doesn't care one way or the other about whether there was a rape or not. It's possible from the way they've reacted. They try to depict it as a conspiracy, the ones who support Jordan. And so it's mangled with a whole lot of other things, but also there's not a strong ethic in South Africa whereby you resign if you've done something wrong, or you step back if you're accused of something very serious. That tradition has not been well established in post-apartheid South Africa.
Equal education is also recently implicated in such acts, because we know that their former SG now, Tsepo Motsipe, was implicated and he resigned, and the two other employees from the same organization. So Debbie Schaefer from the Western Cape Education, the minister, said they don't want to deal with the organization for now. Is this enough? So if they decide that, what else should be done? Because equal education, as I understand it, they work closely with schools, which could mean that maybe they might be involved in acts with children, or maybe with teachers. What does this say for this organization?
Was it correct for the MEC to say that equal education should stay away from schools? Equal education has taken, as far as we can see, very serious steps to investigate this. Now, what business is it of the MEC to say to them they must stay away from schools? There's no evidence that any harassment has occurred outside of the organizational structures. In other words, officials taking advantage of women within the NGO. There's no allegation of it being done in relation to school children. And it seems to me, and there is a statement of equal education today saying that that is not a correct step for her to take. And if you look at it, many of the people are very, very concerned to have a proper investigation and real equal education of these of sexual predatory behavior, so that for the MEC to come in seems to me to not be a proper way of relating to the situation.
And would you say that the hashtag #MeToo campaign is the one behind this, meaning that our country is failing women when it comes to such cases?
They're not behind it in the sense that they probably have no contact whatsoever with many of these people. However, people are influenced by that. Jennifer Ferguson said that it emboldened her. But I don't think we must think that everything we do, we need some people in America to whisper in our ears, because there have been gender activists who've been working on this for a very long time. There's the Women's Law Project at UWC with Sam Waterhouse and others who posted on Facebook, very impressive posting about this, the question of harassment within NGOs. You see, we've got to distinguish between what happens within an organization where you have power over others, where you supervise, where you teach, whatever it is, and what happens in hierarchies in an NGO, things like that, and what's happening outside with individuals like Danny Jordan and Jennifer Ferguson. It wasn't really a relationship of power in the sense we've been talking about, because Danny Jordan had physical power as a strong man, but Jennifer Ferguson was a powerful woman as a well-known singer. However, he used, according to Jennifer Ferguson, he used his physical power to rape her. And I think the situation in South Africa is one where a range of people, as individuals, as members of organizations, others, are influenced by a number of currents. Sometimes they were already doing this long before Me Too came on the scene. But Me Too is powerful. It's getting bigger. Every week there's someone new being exposed intercontinentally.
Yes. Thank you very much, Raymond.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity about power and sexual abuse.